Alright guys, so today we are going to be talking about the UR Selector ticket. So this is obviously part of the part 2 of the Happy Anniversary, and I just completed all my missions, so now I'm able to see the full roster. So it was as expected, so whatever the unit we were able to get from the part 1, we are able to get the unit for those specific pilot as well. So that's why in terms of my tier list, I have it paired with the unit and the pilot. So if you do want to get both the unit and the pilot, you now at least know what the pilot is, what will be the corresponding pilot, or what will be the corresponding unit. So at least you guys know that much. I'll definitely talk about which one of the unit that I will be picking as far as my own. As far as units wise, there are only 7 that I do not currently own, but I believe the pilots wise there are more that I don't have, so there's a total of 10 that I don't have. So that is definitely a hard decision on my back end as well, but I think I'm pretty solid in terms of what I want to pick. But I'll definitely talk about my personal pickup at the end of the video. But first of all, let's talk about the tier list. So obviously same thing for the pilot, I have done a tier list for the unit. So I'm just gonna say a quick disclaimer. Obviously I don't have full 100% knowledge of every single unit in terms of personally using it my team or whatsoever. I think most of them is more or less borrowing from clanmates or just friends or whatsoever. So I think if I were to personally own the unit, I would definitely have a little bit more extensive knowledge on in terms of using them, comparison or whatnot. But I think overall I'm still able to give a non-bias, or trying to be a little bit more subjective in terms of what I need to say. I'm definitely not going to try, or I'm definitely going to try to include every gameplay possible for this game, so it's just not specifically for raid, not specifically for arena, or not specifically to just any those some of the content, because obviously when we are taking a look at the full roster, they are a unit that excels in certain aspects, while a certain group of unit may not excel in a specific content. It's how it is. But overall, I think in terms of some units, they excel just pretty much in any content that you want to toss it in. But I think given the fact that we went to this week's clan battle, I think there are definitely units like Hakashiki and GPO2 that I think people may think they deserve to be higher onto the spot because they're not units that are catered towards arena. I disagree with that. I think clan battle is a kind of like a bait content that makes you think certain units are good. It's only gonna be good for that 1 week, but as a whole, as in general scheme of things, you still have to think about the other 3 weeks. They may release content that does not cater towards Hakashiki or GPO2. So I think overall they are still units that are good in arena, like they perform exceptionally well. So I think I should definitely bring Hakashiki up. But for GPO2, probably I think A tier is going to be the best that I'm giving it, simply because of just its performance. I still have my doubts when it comes down to general content, but I think for how viable this unit is for any content that has multiple enemy, I think GPO2 can be good, for example. So that's why I'm leaving it on A. So I think that one right there is, for people, maybe a hot take, for some it may not. But let's kind of get started. So S tier are definitely units that are solidified. I think those are or not even before the tier list. So if you are a player, I think for just for simplicity of things, I think what I'll have players do is look at their box first and see what color they're lacking the most in terms of the unit wise. So for example, for me, I lack the most in purple and yellow. So I think, generally speaking, I'll definitely pick, some top tier option for the yellow or purple. So at least in terms of when content requires purple or yellow, I'm not screwing myself and saying, whoop, I don't really have unit that I can potentially use for those contents. So I think overall that probably may be a go-to pick, a color that you have the least amount of unit for. I guess not well represented. And then if you do have a good mixture of units for both for every color, then I guess go up on the tier list. But if you are going by the tier list, I do feel like they are pretty good for what they are. Actually, I would say let's start up with D tier. Let's kind of get that out of the way. So D tier are every unit that you are pretty much able to form. So I highly don't suggest you guys to go for any of these units, because simply they are free, and I don't think it's that smart to go for them. So that's why every one of them is D tier. By no means they're bad. Some of them are actually pretty good. Like for Gundam Thunderbolt is actually a decent tank, and then we have Zaku 2, actually a pretty dominant arena unit that you see people use, and it speaks for itself. Sometimes it actually demolishes your enemies, right? It will be a pretty decent setup. So those are units that they're not bad, all right? Don't get me wrong. It's just that they're free, so I don't think you should be spending your ticket on that. So in terms of D tier, it's just a mixture of just a lot of mixed bag unit. They are old now. They certainly don't really live up to the expectation of the game, and I don't really think they are offering too much. With the exception, probably we have Hamahama that recently for this week's clan battle definitely has a resurgence, and I think overall when we are taking a look at Hamahama, I think given the fact that this is an AoE that does have AoE EXQ, I think it's actually pretty nifty. I don't think any one of them besides like Hakashiki or GPO2 has AoE EXQ. This one certainly could be in here as well, but I think overall Hamahama, I don't know, I just don't see this unit future. Like if I were to review this like from few months from now, I wouldn't be really comfortable with putting Hamahama up any higher, so that's why I think for C it is okay. But if you guys do want to put it on B tier, for example, go ahead. It wouldn't really change that much because you're not gonna be focusing on any of these units for pickup anyway, so we can skip that. B tier, they are pretty decent. They definitely offer some good utility, like Borgazelis for I think for any solo content or a solo boss. If you do need to debuff, I think Borgazella definitely got you for sure. This one is the GPO1 full Bernier. It does offer I think evasion in that. I think it's either evasion or actually I forgot, but it offer definitely some good utility for the overall squad. So I think for that matter, it's actually pretty good. And then we have Pale Rider. Pale Rider is definitely a pretty dominant unit to use against new type machine. I think in terms of Pale Rider, it definitely does have a little bit of a future proof in it itself, because moving forward we will still continuously have event or content that cater, or maybe the enemy is new type. So I think in that regards it can still be used, but I think moving forward when we do have better specific unit that are like similar to Pale Rider, this unit is gonna drop down here. But I think for if you guys do want some of these units, it could be decent, so you guys can definitely go for that. This one is the Zaku 3 Twilight Axle version, and this is actually not a bad tank. Alright, if you want a tank that can stall the match, so specifically, I think this one is specifically catered towards arena. This unit can definitely do the job, because I think every time you take damage, you actually heal. So if you build this unit right, it definitely could be a good disruption. So if you want a meat tank, this one is definitely something you can use. And we have I think the Psychic Zaku is definitely could be higher on many people's lists, because in terms of EXQ and then just the overall kit itself, when you have that allies, it does more damage, and then when you are facing up Gundam type enemies, you actually do more EXQ damage as well. But I think overall it's niche, alright, because I think there's definitely more Gundam than any other like your Zaku's, like whatever, like your not main character units. But I think overall, given the fact that this is a bombardment, it will still phase out. All right, even though this is it should bust up pretty good damage, but I'm not really comfortable with putting it alongside with Gundam, for example, because this unit does require a dead ally, and being a last man standing for a bombardment unit, usually isn't really a good sign. So that's why I do feel like the Psychic Zaku, although it's good, but I'm not gonna place it any higher. So I think B tier is pretty decent. And then once we get down to or get up to the A tier, for example, you are getting into some unit that they're good. I think they're definitely a little bit modernized in a way. So starting off with GPO 02, definitely a pretty prominent tank, and this a nutty unit to use in terms of EXQ, busting out 2000% damage. That is just absurd. All right, so I think for that fact, for this, you know, in arena supremacy, this unit is decent, right? Given the fact that you do have this unit well built, transcendent skill level 5 is definitely gonna be pretty good. In terms of we have the Banshee entity. I think it's just the fact that right now we don't have any decently purple, or the other few I already put them on the S tier. That's why it's up here. It is decent enough, right? You do have Marina, for example. Yeah, you should perform relatively well. And then we have as the Nenju Stein. The Nenju Stein is I think should be a little bit of a future proof as well, because this unit obviously do more damage when you are facing off generic unit, and given the fact that generic unit is the most, you know, broad and the most units in that specific category or that typing, it leads me to the belief that Senju Sai is still going to be a prominent unit to use to deal with those specific generic units. So that's why it's going to be an A tier. And then we have what is it, the Banshee Norn. Banshee Norn is alright. It definitely has a pretty sizable attack at the beginning of, I think it's for the first 30 seconds. So I think any content moving forward, if they are short, concise or whatever, I think it's the Banshee Norn is definitely going to be a relevant unit to use. Once we get up to the S, S is definitely the pinnacle. I think those are definitely going to be unit that you guys should focus your tickets on. Starting off with GPO 4. GPO 4 is the unit that I personally have used from friends and clanmates, and is pretty good buffer, pretty good damage dealer. So it's a all-in-one package. It does great damage. It offers buffs or debuffing or whatsoever. So that's why it is deserving to be in the S tier. I feel like it. And in terms of facing it off in arena, now talk about a little bit more specific to arena. This unit is actually pretty good because of the nature and just the functionality of how the unit works. This unit is monstrous when you use it right. When you do have it with, you know, when you are pairing it with other unit that works well with her and works well with other, she's gonna be amazing. So that's why I do feel like if you get GP4, you should get Steam as well, because they are definitely going to be a mix max, just really good. So definitely do go with that if you do need to. And definitely the good old S Gundam. So if you guys do already have the S Gundam from your initial pick ticket, for example, like when you are starting on the game, definitely S Gundam is a hot skip. But if you are new players starting out roughly about the happy anniversary, you need more dues, for example, you can still go for S Gundam. It's still one of the more prominent unit to use in terms of any content that you need to. You need a strong DPS unit for arena, general content, anything. S Gundam definitely has your back. But for content where you know you're gonna take damage, for example, this week's clan battle, or it should be previously, depending on how you're whenever you're watching it. Any content that you know you would take damage for sure, and you don't have a healer, S Gundam is not gonna be that great, because S Gundam perform exceptionally well when it's at max HP. So that's why those are maybe things to consider about. But overall, S Gundam is still a really powerful unit. And then we have Blue Destiny Unit 1. Blue Destiny Unit 1 is definitely a unit that has been the new type Slayer, right? So if you pair this unit up with, let's say, Pearl Rider, you can pretty much decimate any of the O's, Zeta, Quibbly, you name it. So right now, when they drop Quibbly around for May's what a limited week, is actually really bad for Quibbly because of the fact that we already do have a counter. So besides Zeta, obviously, so it's kind of unfortunate how they release Blue Destiny Unit 1 way too early into the meta. So that's why this unit is definitely a good pressure for those new types of machines and whatsoever. So if you do want that option, definitely go for it for Arena specifically. And I think for general content is still future proof as well, because obviously moving forward we will continue to get content that may be related to new type of machines. So I think for that regards is still a good pickup as well. And then we have the Zaku one with the big gun. Is still a prominent unit to this day. For general content wise, for Arena is still doing decently well, but I think as we are moving forward, when people are able to pull Sisakui, for example, Sisakui in a sense does kind of, you can say, replaces the Zaku one with a big gun, but as a free to play, Sisakui is definitely more of a unit that is a luck based. Even me, I summoned numerous times on those super limited banners, done a lot of diamonds, for example. I don't personally have it, so if you are free to play, it's definitely like finding a needle in the ocean, right? Because it's really limited. Like the rate is just continued, like every month moving forward, it's just gonna plummet. All right. In terms of the overall UR rating to get it, it's still gonna be the same, but you have to split it off with every single super limited unit, and it's just gonna, or not super limited unit, excuse me. You're splitting that off with like every other standard banner unit, so it's just gonna get way harder down the line. So that's why if you do have Sisakui right now, it can replace Zaku one with the big gun, but you know, I think overall it's still, for the Zaku one with the big gun, is still a, you know, a consideration due to the fact that Sisakui is quite hard to get. All right, and obviously no introduction needed. We have Akashiki, is definitely a slayer in Arena, but in terms of general content, yeah, this unit is no good. All right, given the fact that this past clan battle is obviously good, but other than that, I think people still want to get it because of the fact that this unit is definitely relevant throughout JP. I think people still uses this, I believe. I don't really do a whole lot of Arena nowadays, but it's decent enough, so that's why I'm just gonna give it an S tier treatment if you want it. So there you guys have it. So that's gonna be the tier list for the UR select tickets for the happy anniversaries. For the second part, do definitely let me know the listing itself. Do you guys, would you guys want to change anything or move anything up into the S tiers that you can recommend people to get, because based on your experience using it or whatsoever? But I think overall, I think this is gonna be where it's getting, because you only have one ticket, so just pick your poison, and then I think overall it's still gonna be good. I think especially for the S tiers, I don't think, even if you do get them, just to get them, I don't think it will be bad for account just to go for them. But obviously when we are looking at the overall things, we are looking at it, everything at Transcendent skill level 5, so I mean that's definitely the caveat. But in terms of my selection now, going back to my pick, I will be picking, all right, I think I'm just gonna be picking what would I want to pick now that we're talking about me. I think I will be not even picking a unit because I do already have them. So I think for the pilot, it's definitely coming down to the pilot. So I think I will actually go for SEMA because I do have the GPO4. It's just a matter of fact when I have resources for them, because obviously I would like to get them to Transcendent Skill 5 to be optimal. So I think it's a matter of when I'll have resources for them, because I think most of the unit I do already have. And I'm not really interested into picking up like GPO2, for example, because for arena wise, I already do have a better team. So I think for the unit itself, I will probably just pick up a Banshee, just the Banshee NTD, just to have it. Like I could probably go for like a tank. I don't really need another tank because I do already have a decent tank for arena, so I'm not really needing that. So I'll probably go for that. Blue Destiny 1 does need some investment into it, so I'm not really up for that because due to limited resources, rainbow coins. So I think overall, what I don't have, they are good, but it's definitely resources intensive. I don't have all of that, so that's why I'll probably be skipping out a lot of them. They might just end up being my just collection purposes. Not really gonna be using it overall. But I think other than that, that is going to be pretty much it in terms of the pick, the UR Selector tickets. And then I'll be catching you guys out on the next one.